Okay, so have a seat. And I'm just going to leave my blocks here for just a moment. We are going to start off in, let's actually start in a cross-legged position. So just taking a moment and just allowing the hips to relax open. We're going to sit up nice and tall and go back to our breath cycles. So if you were starting this class just fresh, hadn't done the last 45 minutes with us, we're going to use this opportunity to just kind of reset, get warm again, and get ready to stretch and open up. So I thought we'd do just a little more hips and glutes today, just opening up through that area that's generally pretty tight for many of us. All right, so sitting nice and tall, breathing deep. We want to expand through the rib cage on the inhale. And we're going to contract through the rib cage on the exhale. I want to think about a string lifting out of the top of the head. Shoulders stay nice and low. Hands are just resting easy, either over your knees or by your side. We're going to keep the belly button drawn to the spine. Now we're going to lead with the top of the head, and I'm just going to scoop out a little circle around me. And just leaning into those knees with the hands, or if your hands are by your side, just a little bit of support here. Scooping out this space around you. And I'm allowing my neck to move through this circle with me, just lightly. Chin to chest, ear to shoulder, chin up, very easy. And we're going to come to the top and hold it here. I'm going to inhale and then exhale the other direction. Nice and tall, scoop that belly. And this time we'll come to the top and I'm going to lean forward. So if you had your blocks nearby, you could even lean into your blocks. So I want to think about this stretch down my back into my glutes. And I want to keep my posture really tall. So thinking about that string lifting out of the top of the head, coming down into the forearms, either forearms on the blocks or forearms on the floor. Now, if we're down a little bit low, you might have a tendency to kind of round through the back. I'm not ready to round the back yet, so keep it lifting, keep it tall. Coming down as you can. Then I'm going to reach my hands out a little further, and now I'm going to round. I'm going to think about a cat stretch. I'm going to lengthen through the top of the head, rounding forward. Keep some light pressure on the floor as we drag this in, coming up to sit nice and tall, one vertebra at a time. All right, so we are going to change the front leg, top leg or front leg, depending on how you're sitting. And we're going to add those arms. So I'm going to lean into my right hand. I'm going to take my left hand, just taking this nice side body stretch. I should be able to look under and see the ceiling. I'm going to circle around to the other side. So kind of a little ragdoll, looking up, and then just come up and over. So taking this easy little side lean and circle. Now this time, I'm going to lean into my left hand and circle this right arm back a little further, coming to the floor. So take my side bend, ragdoll, and then come up and over and circle this arm to the back. So just feeling a little more open through the front of the shoulder into the chest. Let's get one more of those. And take that lean and open it back and come up to sit tall. We're going to go the other direction. So take that lean. I'm leaning with my right arm, little ragdoll. And the first one, I'm just going to come up and over. Now let's do that again, taking that nice little side body lean, circle forward, and this time lean into that right hand and circle this arm behind. Coming up and over, take that right arm lean, circle, left arm circles back. One more, guys. Let's take that lean and circle. Left arm circles back. We come to sit up at the top, and again with that little stretch forward. So I'm going to lean into my hands, into my forearms. If you would like to use your blocks, you can. I want to keep my posture nice and tall. So I want to think about getting this stretch through my hips and glutes into that low back. So I'm not really in my thoracic spine, not yet. Now, I'm going to reach my hands out a little further, and now I'm going to add that round spine. I'm going to let my chin drop forward, keep some light pressure on the floor, and then drag this in, coming up to sit nice and tall. Okay, so I am going to set my blocks up. I'm going to extend my legs. I'm just going to, in between, if you find your quadriceps, your hips are getting kind of tight, they feel kind of like they might cramp, and this one is one that they can feel like they might cramp. So give yourself these little breaks in between. For me, this little bounce, a little wiggle, those are things that work for me. So what I'm going to do is just bring my legs right here to the front and set the blocks up just either side. So I've got mine set up flat and low, all right? So we can do different positions with the blocks. I'm going to start off with the easy one. So I'm going to sit up nice and tall, and I want to try to maintain this, tall posture. If you need to, you can lean back a little bit. This might make it a little easier. So what we're going to do is we're going to engage our quadriceps and our hip flexors. So I'm going to lean slightly just to kind of give you the picture. I'm going to start with just a little up and over, and then back in. Easy peasy, right? Out and in, and out and in. So if you're leaning into your hands, come forward, bring your fingers up by your knees. Out and in, and in. Out and out, and in. Keeping this strong contraction through the quads. Those hip flexors are really working for you. Belly button drawn in tight, shoulders up and back. I find I tend to want to kind of lean. A little hollow body kind of helps as well, but I don't want to help myself out just yet. Single, single, one more, and bring it in, nice and tall. All right, so giving yourself that little bounce, that little break. You can stay with singles. We're gonna go to doubles. All right, so leaning, so I'm gonna start with a little lean. I wanna think about keeping my heart lifted. Now we're gonna go up and out, up and in, up and out, up and in. Nice and tall. Now I'm just gonna move my hands a little bit. And for this one, you may want to engage that little hollow body, so that little squeeze, that little scoop, and up and in, up and out, up and in, up and out, and up and in, up and out, and in. One more, and in. Give yourself a little break. All right, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna set one block here. I'm gonna set one block about there. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pretend that we have them on both sides. All right, so we're going to go out, 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 out. So that might be a little far for you. So if you need to bring them in a little bit or go with no blocks, that works as well. So we're gonna go in, 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 in. All right, so right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. Now, stick with that or double it up. Here we go. Out, out, in, and in. Woo, you're gonna feel maybe some little hitches in there. And out, and out, and in, and in. One more like this, guys. Out, and out, and in, and in. Shake it out. I'm gonna bring it in for a butterfly, stretching those quadriceps. Nice little lean, open up through the hips and glutes, feel those quads, get a little break. All right, so I'm gonna keep my blocks handy, but we're not gonna use the blocks for this. We are going to extend both legs, and I'm just coming into this straddle position. Doesn't have to be super wide. In fact, probably better that it's not. I am going to turn and face my right leg, and you can keep the foot pointed, flexed, whatever you'd like. I'm going to set my hands either side, and I want to try to keep this strong connection here. You're going to engage your quads, and you're just going to lift and pulse. Feel in those quads. They're probably a little bit tired from the last class. And here's 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Set it down, shake it out. Good job. Let's face the other side. So I'm going to turn my body, rotate, hands either side of that leg, engage those quads, scoop that belly. Let's lift and pulse. Keep it strong. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and bring it down. Woo, all right, giving those both legs a good job, good job. All right, so we are going to do both sides. So I'm going to scoop my belly. So for this one, I do want to think about this rib to hip connection and lifting the feet. Now, if you are only able to maybe lift and lower, that is fine. So what we're going to do, we're just going to start with an easy lift and lower, and then we're going to build on that. So I want to just place my hands right here in the center. I'm going to find that rib to hip connection. So think about that little scoop. We're going to inhale and then exhale, lift and lower. Now, even if you just get your feet in the direction of up, they might not leave the floor. That is okay. I know these are the heaviest bones in our body. Scoop the belly, inhale, exhale, lift and lower. Inhale, exhale, lift and lower. All right, one more, just lift and lower. Inhale, exhale, lift and lower. Giving yourself a little break. All right, so the next one is we are going to lift, circle, circle, and down. My circles did not look circular at all, but I want you to think about keeping them up as if to circle forward, circle back, and down. So if you're able to just lift and lower, stick with that. Let's inhale, exhale, lift, circle forward, circle back, and down. Feeling those quads. Do it again. Inhale, exhale, circle, circle, and down. One more, and then we're going to give those quads a little break. We're going to inhale, exhale, scoop the belly, lift, circle, circle, and down. Woo! Bring it in for butterfly. Nice little stretch. Now from our butterfly, I'm going to extend my right leg. Doesn't have to be super wide. And you can kind of rotate the leg in and out, just kind of easing up any tension that might just initially kind of happen. So we have this thing called a stretch reflex. And anytime we put the muscle into a position where you're stretching it and it's kind of unsure, you kind of have to stay there for a minute. That's why as we stretch and breathe into it, it gets a little bit easier. We try to relax that stretch reflex. I'm probably explaining that wrong, but our muscles' initial tendency is to tighten up to avoid injury. So we want to kind of hang out there and just let it know, you know, hey, we're here to stretch a little deeper and just get a little bit longer, and then you'll feel that relaxation, and maybe you can go just a little bit deeper. All right, so I'm just going to keep my right leg open, and I'm going to turn to my left, and you can even walk it out just a little further, a little more of a pigeon, and I'm going to lean forward. So I'm kind of rotating this leg in just a little bit. You may feel those adductors stretch a little more, and I'm just leaning into my hands. If you have blocks, you can lean into your blocks either on your hands or on your forearms. I'm just taking this little stretch. So not really a true pigeon. I'm just kind of opening here for this back leg, feeling a little more stretch in this outer hip as well. All right, so from here, I'm going to set a block behind my leg, and I'm going to lean into it and take this little side body stretch. I should be able to look up and still see the ceiling. So I've just got my hand behind the knee for this little side body stretch. Now, as we progress, I'm going to move my elbow in front of this knee. We're going to come up. You can stay here. All right, so I'm just going to open my leg up just a bit more. I do happen to have fairly open hips, so this is, I can move my elbow to the front a little easier. If you're still working at it, keep your hand and elbow behind the knee. All right, so I'm just going to place my block here. You might not need it. We're going to take this little lean, so I'm going to lean my elbow into that block and take this little side body stretch. So my foot is out here, and it's just kind of hanging out. You can add some point and flex. I want to think about sending my breath into some of these tight spots. So I'm going to think about this little side body stretch into my hip, taking this little lean, and then coming up nice and tall. So if you're still using the block, stick with it. I'm going to take mine away. So I'm going to work on bringing my elbow in front of the knee, and then eventually maybe the shoulder comes down a little closer to the knee or in front of the knee. So wherever you are, either elbow or shoulder. And if your shoulder, you can reach your right hand to your left foot, calf, ankle. And I want to take this little side body stretch, nice and open down that side body. And if you're still up here, that is okay too. So just think about this length, this opening down the side body into the hip, keeping this knee down as best you can. Reaching in the direction of the foot, and you might touch, you might not. We're different from day to day. I'm going to bring it up nice and slow, give a couple of easy little shoulder rolls. I'm going to bring this foot in. We're going to sit in a little butterfly for just a moment. I want my knees open. So if you need to, you can use your forearms to help those knees open. And I want to think about lifting through the top of the head. So I want to keep this tall posture. Once we get here, sometimes the tendency might be to kind of round, and it feels like we're getting closer to our feet, and we are, but we're rounding through our thoracic spine. So I want to think about keeping it really tall, and then maybe adding the lean from lower in the back. Now, if you're here and your knees are really open, another option would be to use your block and to bring your feet on top of that. And you can work on opening those knees a little further. It's a little more intense, clearly, obviously. So just depending on how you're feeling, and you can even try that and just kind of see how that feels for you. All right, so I'm going to extend this left leg, just opening up into that little half straddle, and just kind of waking up, and you can do a little wiggle, a little shake, anything you need. I'm going to position my right leg out just a little more like a pigeon. I'm going to rotate toward this right leg and then take that little lean. So you feel that little kind of internal rotation opening through your adductors. So I'm supporting myself, and again, if you had your blocks, you could lean into your blocks. You can lean into your hands or forearms, however you're feeling here. Think about those adductors, inner thighs. I'm also thinking here a little bit about this outer hip and the glutes. Sending your breath into any of those tight spaces. So it might feel like, you know, we initially get at that stretch and we tend to maybe hold our breath a little bit because, you know, it's uncomfortable. So as you can, try to release that muscle through that breath. I tend to think about what's tight and think about breathing into that stretch, and on the exhale, relaxing that muscle just a bit more. All right, so I'm going to come up, and I'm just going to move my block behind my knee. And we're going to take that little side bend. So you can take your hand on the floor, your forearm, hand, floor block, whatever you'd like. All right, so I'm just going to take this little side body lean, and we're different on each side. So one side, you might have to work a little more to get that flexibility. Finding that breath cycle. Now I'm going to bring this block in. Just let it support me a little bit as I take this stretch and begin to feel this opening up through that side body into my hip. Keeping that gaze toward the ceiling, or being able to see the ceiling, so we're not rounding that arm forward. And we're going to bring it up. You can keep the block right where it is or move it to the front. I'm just going to open that leg just a tiny bit more. And we're going to inhale and then exhale. Take that lean. So I'm just leaning my elbow into my block in front of my knee. Keeping that elbow open, being able to see the ceiling. and we're gonna bring it up. Stay with this. You can be back here, or we are going to bring the elbow to the floor in front of the knee and eventually maybe the shoulder. All right, so we're gonna inhale and then exhale down. Got the elbow in front of the knee, reaching in the direction of the foot. Now you can point and flex if you'd like, finding that nice deep side bend, a slight rotation back. So just keeping that elbow open so we can see the ceiling. And if you feel like you can, go down just a little bit deeper, shoulder coming down toward that knee, maybe. Finding that breath. I'm going to come up nice and slow. All right, so I'm going to bring my blocks in front. We are going to open both legs. So you might not have a super wide straddle. That's okay. And from here, I'm going to do that little wiggle and bounce. Anything you need. If you feel those quads tensing up on you, you feel those adductors kind of seizing. If you feel the urge to cramp, you can always lean back and take this little windshield wiper. In fact, if you want to do it with me right now, it feels pretty darn good. All right, so when you're ready, come into your straddle position. We're going to start with just an easy forward lean. So I'm just going to bring my blocks in, and I'm going to lean into my hands. So what you can do here is think about this pelvic tilt forward and back. So just tilting forward and back. Feeling everything around this pelvis kind of shift and stretch. For me, when I tilt forward, I feel that intensity, and then tilt back, leaning it off. So take a moment. You can even lean into it and hold. Finding both ends of that tilt. Now, I'm going to just shift myself a little forward, further forward into my straddle, and I'm going to place my blocks and lean into them. So I can still tilt my pelvis forward and back here, easing off as I need that. Otherwise, I'm going to tilt it on and hold. Now, with the legs, I want to keep the knees and toes pointing out. So I have to work on externally rotating. So keeping those knees kind of turning up toward the ceiling. Otherwise, they might have a tendency to kind of roll forward. All right. And you can even kind of play with that little wiggle. Now you can stay here or bring the blocks in and lean into your forearms. If you need to take a break, take a break. Take those windshield wipers. Take the butterfly. You can even go into your butterfly and sit and work on opening those knees up a bit more there. Hips are kind of a funny thing for different people. For me, I happen to be open in my straddle, but my forward splits both directions are just, they've really tightened up on me. So I have to work a little harder at those. All right, so if you are in your forearms on your block, let's maybe take the forearms down to the floor. Now, where I'm going with this, and I know at least one person who's here today she's probably already belly on the floor. So if you are able to, you're going to lower yourself into the floor. You can continue to support on your forearms, and you can even bring the blocks under your belly. So this is another option. 1 block, 2 blocks, no blocks. And where we're going is for pancakes. So I've got my legs in this nice open straddle, and I'm going to open up my arms and come down into the floor. Now I've got a nice wide open straddle. You can also challenge this pancake a little differently, bringing the legs a little further forward. For me, this one's a little harder. So coming in, elbows, reaching down, and coming into, see, I can't go quite as far in this one. Leaning into this. All right, enough of that. Go ahead and bring it up for your feet. And we're going to take this little 90-90. I call them windshield wipers. We are going to do our little 90-90 stretches. I think these feel really good. And they're going to travel you around your mat just a little bit. So Don't be afraid to pick yourself up and reset. So I am leaning into my hands and feet are wider than shoulder distance apart, and I'm just taking this little twist. Now I'm going to twist and hold. So what I want to think about is this knee out, this knee in, and I'm leaning back, and we've already done some hip stuff, so it might be a little easier at this point than had we offered this a little earlier. Now let's go to the other side. And you're different on each side. One side might feel much easier, much stronger. All right, so we're gonna go back to this little switch, and I'm actually going to come up out of my hands. And now I have to work a little differently to support myself and keep this upright. So a little 90-90. Traveling all over the place. Don't be afraid to reset. All right, so for this one, I'm going to hold, and I'm going to keep this leg in front, this leg in back. So again, kind of that little half pigeon stretch. This one should feel pretty good though. So I'm going to leave my left leg in front, and I'm just going to lean forward. This leg stays right in place, and I'm going to come forward again into my hands. You can come down into your forearms. You can bring your blocks in, lean into that if you'd like. And I want to think about this stretch through this front leg, hip, and glutes. So right now I'm supporting myself, leaning into your hands, your forearms, or come all the way down. Body weight into this. For me, it's my left leg. And bring it up nice and slow, and we're going to rotate to the other side. So set yourself up, make any adjustments if you need that, blocks or no blocks, and take that little lean. So for this one, I feel like I can kind of get my shin, my calf, a little more perpendicular than I might in a regular, quote, normal pigeon. So for this one, I can kind of turn my foot up just a little more to the side. Knees are not meant to bend that direction. So when I see that in a yoga class where their leg is perpendicular, I just think, oh, that hurts my knee. So resting in your forearms, resting your body weight into that front leg if you feel. So listening to how you're feeling, and you're different on each side. All right, I'm gonna bring it up. I'm just gonna reposition. Still gonna stick with this little 90-90. We're gonna add some rotation. So I'm just gonna turn, and I'm gonna take my right hand outside my left knee, and I'm gonna take my left hand and take that little twist and look. I'm gonna rotate around, left hand, right knee, twist and look. Other side, 90-90, twist, look, and rotate, 90-90. Let's get one more each direction. And with each of these, you might get that twist a little deeper. It might feel a little more comfortable with each of those twists. Last one right here. 90-90, twist and look. Yep, that last one felt the best of all. All right. So I do have one little, it's a conditioning exercise for those straddles. This is one that we do in aerial class, and it kind of works on those active straddles, those active splits. So just a quick little conditioning. I'm gonna tuck this block, and if you don't have the blocks, you can go into a butterfly, you can go into a straddle and kind of follow along. It's gonna be a series of contract and release. All right, so I'm just gonna start with the block kind of tucked under my hamstrings. So what I'm going to do is extend the legs, engage my quadriceps, and then lift my tailbone off the floor. So lifting my hips off the floor and then lower. So when I come off the floor, everything is off the floor, my feet and my booty. So I'm going to come up and squeeze so my heels are not touching and my hips are not touching. We're going to lower down. All right, so just engaging through the quads. I'm just going to do that a couple more times. And this one's kind of fun to work on balance, work on those active quadriceps, active hips, and lower. And we're going to bring it up, really, really strong, and lower. All right, so giving those little windshield wipers, I'm going to move it out. So I'm just going to do one more little set. If you want to continue on with these, just remember where we are, and then you can revisit this at the end of class. All right, so I am just going to bring this out a little further, so it's going to get a little harder for me to balance. So I'm going to extend. So I'm going to start with the legs really active. My heels are already off the floor, and I'm just going to shift and lift my hips. So think about lifting your tailbone, finding balance, and I'm really trying to press my feet up. So engaging my quadriceps and lower. And you know, it's not far at all. It's a couple inches, maybe an inch. All right, but it feels like a mile. All right, let's do that again. We're going to inhale. We're going to exhale, lift. So engaging the legs, lifting the feet, finding that balance. Super, super strong. Try to keep those heels off the floor, nice and tall, and lower. Whew. All right, that's all we'll do of those today. So give yourself just a quick little release. Okay, so we are going to lay on our back. Keep your blocks handy, please. And go ahead and take this all the way down. Give yourself just a little back massage, a little side to side, foot flexion, extension, if you want some of that. I'm going to keep my right leg, take your left leg down. So think about lengthening out, pressing the back of this left knee into the floor. So I don't want to let my hips rock and roll with me. We're going to do a little 3-point stretch. So I'm just going to start with a really easy movement. So I'm just using my right hand to move that right hand to move the right hip in a little bit of a circle. Each direction, just kind of moving it around. And I'm going to pull the knee into the chest. I'm going to move my hand down to my calf and just start with a little bend and straighten. So starting off with just a little bit of nerve glide, we're going to lengthen and then shorten. And lengthen through those hamstrings and shorten. Now, as I'm here, I want to think about also keeping everything really active and strong. So not just taking a break, not resting. I want to keep everything active. Now extend and hold. I'm going to bring my nose up in the direction of my knee, and I'm just going to add a little point and flex. So just a little ankle rotation each direction, just some movement through that foot and ankle. I'm going to keep my leg in extension. I'm going to lower my head and shoulders and pulling this leg in just a tiny bit more before I soften the knee and take this leg out to the side. So I'm lowering my right leg out to the right, and I'm just going to create this little brace under my right leg. So knee is a little bit soft. You can always work on straightening, so a little bend and straighten. And I've just got my leg mostly out to my side. So if yours is still out here a little bit, a little lower, that's okay too. See if you can maybe pull the knee up and a little more in alignment with those hip bones. Now, if you can also pull this knee up a little more toward that outside, toward your right shoulder. So just up a little higher, and then work on extending the leg out here, a little harder. Now I'm going to bend the knee, and left hand is going to pull that right knee across. I'm going to stop about 2/3 of the way. We started with some of this earlier. We had some of this earlier. I want the shoulder down on the floor, and then go ahead and extend that arm, looking out across, and take that twist a little deeper. This stretch may have been in the previous class. I think I'm getting my stretches mixed up. Now you can stay with the bent knee, pulling that knee across, or take the hand underneath, create that brace, and extend that leg. Now bottom leg might try to travel with you just a little bit, reaching across, bending and straightening if you need that. Try not to hold your breath here. Very easy to take those shallow breaths. Bend the knee, pull it back to center, and unfold. One more time, lengthening into the stretch, opening through those hamstrings. Left leg is down, anchored to the floor. All right, bend that knee, walk the other knee in. Take a moment, give yourself just a quick little release through the glutes and low back. We're gonna keep the left leg, extend through the right. So remember, we're gonna keep this right leg anchored down. So think about the back of the knee, kind of pressing into the floor, keeping those hips really grounded to the floor. Now I'm going to take a little bend and extend. So work on pulling that knee into your chest. And we're gonna bend and extend. Feeling maybe a little tightness through those hamstrings, through those glutes. Working on keeping this knee in alignment with your body. Mine has a tendency to want to kind of rotate open. And keeping it in, extend. Now I'm going to extend and hold for this one. Nice and long. I'm going to pull myself into forward flexion. Little point and flex, ankle rotation. And I'm keeping this right leg down, really anchored to the floor. Now I'm going to lower the head and shoulders, and I'm just going to take this left hand to guide that left leg into a little bit of mobility, just kind of moving that leg through that hip. All right, so lengthening out. I may have gotten those mixed up, but that's okay. We're getting them all in, right? Lengthen through the hamstring. Now I'm going to bend the knee and take this leg open to the side. So I like to start off with a little bit of a bent knee, and you can create this brace under that outside knee. From here, you can work on that extension and flexion. Keeping this right leg anchored to the floor. Now I've got my knee about equal with the hip. You can also try this, pull this knee up a little closer toward your shoulder, and then work on lengthening it more up in this direction. Now I'm going to bend my knee. Right hand comes over that left knee, and we twist it over. Try to keep that left shoulder on the floor. I'm going to open up through that right palm. I'm going to look across this back hand and continue this twist. Now again, you can pull the knee. You can create a brace under the knee and work on extension through that leg, little flexion and extension. And like I said earlier, and many times, we're different on each side. So one side may need just a little more patience, a little more assistance. And bring it in. One more time, a little straighten, nice and long. All right, so this last little bit that I want to do with you today for the hips and a little more twisting, I think it feels pretty darn good. So I'm actually going to shift my feet off of my mat because otherwise they get a little bit stuck. Stop my timer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay back, and I'm just kind of getting my feet free of my mat. So I'm going to start off by opening up into a little butterfly. I'm going to extend my right leg, circle it over to the left, and then bring it around and bring it back in. So extend left, circle to the right, and bring it in. So take your time with this. Circle, coming up and around, reaching towards your hand maybe. Circle back and bring it into butterfly. So left side. And you can take it as slow as you'd like. You can move a little quicker, a little more dynamic, maybe a little more kick, and then up and around. keeping those arms open in that nice wide letter T, so you get that nice little twist. And it doesn't even have to be that big, so you can just kind of bring it across and bring it back. And let's get one more on each side. And I'm going to straighten myself up a little bit. Bring those knees into your chest. Just take a quick little release. We're going to come up and over. Let's see. All right, we've got just a tiny bit of time. So what I'd like to do is come over to our belly, and similar to what we were just doing, we're going to add a little swan. So I'm going to slide my hands back, elbows near your ribs. We're going to start off by peeling up nice and slow. So coming up, lifting through the top of the head, lifting. Shoulders are down here, guys. And then we're going to lower with control. I'm going to reach my arms out and then lift and twist. So I'm starting with my left foot, reaching over, and I'm stretching through the front of my right shoulder. We're going to come in, hands slide back in, take a little swan and lower, and we're going to open. That right leg takes that little twist and bring it back in. So hands come in, and we lift and lower and open and twist. Bring it in, swan, press up, lower down, and take your twist. Bring it in, swan, lower, reach, twist. Bring it in, swan, and lower. Last little twist here, guys. Bring it in. And I'm just going to slide my hands in to press back for child's pose. Take your time. Allow yourself to really sink. Hips over heels. Let the head relax forward. All right, so coming to sit, I'm just going to sit with my hips over my heels. If you prefer to sit cross-legged, you can certainly do that. We're going to take this little side body stretch and then bring it up. Other side, little side body stretch. Now this time, I'm going to bring my right hand back, and I'm just going to come up, press my hips forward for an easy, somewhat back bend, and come down. Switch hands. So I'm just going to come left hand right behind my hips and press up, pressing through the front of my body into my hip, into my quad, and come down. Take that side body stretch. And other side, side body stretch. Take the hand behind. You can separate your knees if you need and stretch forward. And bring it down, other side. I've got my knees a little more separated this time. And lift, pressing those hips forward, and bring it down. All right, I'm going to rock onto the ball of the foot, balancing heels, hips over heels, fingertips touching. And then if you can, I'd like you to bring your hands to your thighs, working on balance, sitting up nice and tall, shoulders down your back. I'm going to bring my fingertips to the floor and then just unfold. So coming up to stand, separate the feet and pedal through those legs. Pop one knee, straighten the other. Let's let the head relax forward and shake the head no. I'm going to settle both heels down and see about pressing a little deeper, belly to the thighs. I'm actually going to drop my hips and then lift. So drop, belly to thighs, and lift. See if we can keep the belly close to the thighs. And this time, soften the knees. Slide the hands up to your thighs. We're gonna unfold one vertebra at a time, coming up nice and slow. Here at the top, everybody, take a big inhale. Arms are gonna come up. I am going to drop my right arm into a tricep stretch. I don't wanna lose my chin. So think about that tall posture, string out the top of the head. Let's grapevine this left arm around, reaching fingertips in the direction of each other. And unwind. We're gonna bring this left arm into your tricep stretch. So think about that tall posture. I'll take my watch off for this. I'm going to grapevine my right arm around, reaching fingertips in the direction of each other. And let's just alternate this little grapevine. So I'm gonna switch, reach, switch, and reach, switch. One more time, guys. Reaching those fingertips in the direction of each other and unwind. Bring your hands together to the front. I'm going to separate my feet, interlace your fingers and press out. So kind of tuck your belly, reaching forward through those palms, opening up across the shoulders and upper back. We're going to open up nice and tall, open through the palms, turn it all the way over, palms up, and then press the thumbs together, nice and tall. Little shoulder roll up and back. Let's take a big inhale, arms reach up on an inhale. We'll exhale everything, bringing it down. Thank you guys very much. Happy Saturday. Hopefully you feel nice and stretched and lengthened and tall. Have a great weekend, you guys.